Good morning from sacred space at Titania's realm. The time is 9:04 a.m. on the 12th of August 2025, Tuesday. I'm sneaking in another chapter in because I'm off to my hairdresser after lunch sometime, and I'm going to get all spruced up again and glammed up again. I'll feel human again. But it's a beautiful morning, and let me just open the window a bit here. And I'm still quite sick, but I feel slightly better than I did yesterday. So soldiering on every day in every way. And anyway, I thought I'd continue reading Satan's Choice to you. We're up to chapter 17. Disneyland. The only way to change your diet in prison was through health reasons or religion. I didn't have any health problems, so I became a Buddhist. Lorne Campbell. If you drive by Collins Bay Medium Security Prison on Bath Road in Kingston and don't look too carefully, its bright red turreted roof makes it look like some enchanted castle from Disneyland. If you slow down and take another second or two, you'll also see the lookout towers and barbed wire and realise this elegant limestone structure wasn't built for fun. Those who see its hard, cold walls from the inside on a daily basis call it Gladiator School. After 14 months in ultra-maximum security Millhaven, Campbell was bumped down to Gladiator School. Just going to wedge just a little bit. There we go. That's better. And just 2 weeks after his arrival, he was elected inmate representation for 3 block. That's quite impressive for a newcomer. More impressive yet was his 88% approval rating from voters, most of whom Campbell hadn't met yet. It didn't hurt his campaign that Larry Valentine and 2 bikers known as Mule and Flex went cell to cell, saying words to the effect, "You're voting for Lorne, aren't you?" Serving on inmate committees had become a tradition of sorts for bikers at Collins Bay. Bernie Gindon was a previous head of the inmate committee, enjoying the wide range of information the position offered about goings-on throughout the prison. For Campbell, it meant that at 10 every Thursday morning, he would sit down with prison officials, including Warden Ken Payne, and prisoner representatives from each cell block. It was a chance for both sides to air complaints. Sometimes the hostilities were between inmates, with staff relegated to the role of interested bystanders or referees. One particularly contentious topic involved conjugal and family visits, during which prisoners could spend time with loved ones in a nicely equipped trailer with a living room and a little yard for a barbecue. Prisoners who weren't expecting visits would often apply for them anyway, and then deal their credits for visits to other prisoners for the going price of 10 rolling papers smeared with hash oil. It appeared everyone was happy with the arrangement, since prisoners with families got more visits, while prisoners without families got the hash oil papers, and prisoners, including Campbell and Larry Valentine, made some spending money selling them. Guards who imported the hash oil also benefited from the trailer trade business, rounding out the circle of satisfaction. So it seemed to be a perfectly symbiotic relationship until an inmate representative known as OJ spoke out loudly against it at one meeting. OJ's moral objection was hard to define, but he felt it strongly enough to risk the wrath of the pro-trade inmates and staff. Up to this point, Campbell had had plenty of respect for OJ, who was an outspoken advocate for black prisoners' rights. Until OJ fought the good fight, black inmates had been unofficially barred from working in the Collins Bay kitchen. Since it was understood that the white inmates would go on strike if blacks ever dared to handle their food. Kitchen work was a good, clean job, and the extra food it provided for workers was a perk. There was a sign outside the kitchen that was originally meant to refer to the cook's uniforms, and which had read, "Whites only are to be worn." The sign had been altered to read, "Whites only." Through nerve and negotiation, OJ managed to change all that and got black inmates into the kitchen. The guy's a drug addict on the street, but nobody else would fight for that. OJ was the biggest fighter of blacks' rights in Ontario prisons back then. In my eyes, I respected him for it. That morning at the meeting, however, Campbell's respect for OJ was quickly forgotten when he spoke out against the conjugal visit trade. It was cold, Campbell recalls. The atmosphere was heavy. "I'm looking right at OJ. You could cut the tension in the air with a knife at that point. In prison, that wasn't entirely a metaphor. Anybody that would begrudge another inmate extra visits with his family is less than a man in my eyes," Campbell said to OJ. Warden Payne and the head of security looked at each other, and the warden ended the meeting. It could have got far uglier, but in the end, OJ's attempts to stir things up over the visits went nowhere. Everything stayed the same. His comment didn't ruin anything. At another inmates committee meeting, the warden noted a deadly cyanide threat inside the prison. Danny Spielcheck, a First Nations hockey player with a name like Spielcheck, it's a strange name, isn't it? Sounds Ukrainian or a bit German or something. Anyway, maybe that was his father's line. A First Nations hockey player who was captain of Campbell's Millhaven hockey team had just died after overdosing on poison. It had been murder, not suicide. The warden told the committee that Spielcheck's coffee had been spiked with cyanide and that the threat wasn't over. What a fucking nasty thing to do. Cyanide's a horrible fucking death. There was this pedophile motherfucker that was hanging around my friend Rosalind when we were, I was a teenager. I was living with him at the time, so I was 14. So that makes her 13. Anyway, he was an adult, technically an adult. He was like 20, 18 or 20. And he was hanging around. Now, Rosalind was a very beautiful child. She grew to be a very beautiful woman. Very, very wealthy too. She married Dr. Johns of Dr. John's nightclub in Wellington, New Zealand. He's since died, but, some years ago. Back in 2000. I went to see her in 2000. early 2005, January. He'd not long before died, so he must have died in early 2004, 2003, I'm not sure. She was still grieving horribly over him. He was the love of her life. They never had children. He was a lot older than her too, I believe. And as she grieved, she was grieving. She had everything still in place. His shaving brush, his toothbrush, everything as he left it. Of course, Mama T being Mama T, I walk in, I see this and my heart just wrenched out of my body. I went, Rosalind, you got to let that go, love. He's gone now. His boots were still at the back door as if he just was going to walk in. She really loved that man. Really loved him. He must have been good to her. Must have been a good man to her. I never met him because I was, when she got involved with him, I was married young, migrated here when I was 23. But he must have been a wonderful partner to her. Rosalind, I said, you've got to put all that away and let it all go. I'm not ready to yet. Okay, I said, I get it. Whole house was a shrine to that man. Well, I guess I've never had a man that loved me for real, so it's hard to comprehend, It's a different kind of grief, losing a man that loved you truly and was kind and honouring of you, as opposed to grieving a man that was a lacklustre, empty motherfucker, traitor dog. It's a different kind of grief. It's a rage that boils and burns. I guess I've made a shrine to that one too in a way, still talking about it. Anyway, it is what it is. I mean, yeah, you almost have to laugh, people are. It's reaching the point where it's getting comical, But a man who really loves you, that's an intense gift. Anyway, I've segued. So at 13, very beautiful little girl, and she had 4 big brothers, parents. They were all a bit fucking, I don't know what was wrong with them, quite frankly. I was the only one that was onto it because, not being safe in my family home with any of the motherfuckers, including the women, turning a blind eye to all goings on. The bastards. Honestly, the bastards. So anyway, this dude, it was, he hunted possums for their skins. People sell the possum fur in New Zealand. They get paid quite a lot of money. Back in the day, when I was 14, we're talking 1979. Anyway, he'd rock up and he'd open up the back of his ute and it would be full of stinking bloody possum skins, freshly skinned, and he'd swagger around like he was some kind of possum king, bandy-legged motherfucker. And he says to me, I just love it when I kill a possum. I says, oh yeah, what do you do? Because, Mama T, I was a writer even as a child, so I explore human nature, human potential and human possibility, and I learn from people. I might think they're evil, putrescent, dumb motherfuckers, but even they have something to teach you, if you ask the right questions. So I said, oh yeah, I said, how do you kill them? I said, I thought you shoot them. He says, no, if you shoot them, you damage the fur. It gets full of shot and it ruins the fur. He says, no, what I do is I put baits down and it's got cyanide in it. Oh, I said, because I'm an animal lover. Even as a child, I was an animal lover. It's probably why I draw in men to me that are very fucking animalistic. Maybe I like to tame the wild beast in them, and nah, not really. But it makes me wonder sometimes. Anyway, so this and he was a pervert. I was onto him. What are you hanging around my Rosalind for? I said. Oh, I just love her. She's the most beautiful thing I've ever seen in my life. She's gorgeous. I can't wait till she grows up, he says to me. Oh, really? I said. Really? Anyway, so he's telling, let's just get back to the original thing I was trying to explain about cyanide. So he says, yeah, I just love it when I give them cyanide. He said, within minutes, he said, they're doing the cyanide dance, one leg up, one leg down, and they're wobbly, and then all this foam and vomit comes out of their mouth, and it's beautiful to watch. I'm looking at him. I thought, if I had a knife, I'd stab you right here and right now. Well, I was 14 years old. So my mind works, you mind you. Never stabbed anyone in my life, but it's crossed my mind more than once. So the potential is there. I could have grown up to be a homicidal maniac too. Thank God I never did though. Like my freedom too much. But I'm looking at it, you don't deserve to walk this world with me, you animal. I said, you give her the word animal a bad name. Oh, you're so funny, Tanya. You're so judgmental, Tanya. I said, I'm not judgmental. How can you gloat about killing an innocent life? All it's done is be deemed a pest to farmers. It's still a beautiful animal. It's going about its business, and you take such delight in its dying. I said, you must be some kind of fucking psychopath, I said. Stay away from my Roslyn. Oh, she's your Roslyn, is she? I said, we've grown up together. She's like a sister. She's mine. He actually did a little back take, stood back, looked at me. Oh, I knew then and there he did not have good intentions for our Roslyn. Roslyn comes to me. What was his name? Colin or something. No, that was her brother's name. She had a brother named Colin. No, I think this motherfucker was called Colin too. Colin's given me this beautiful present. But she looked kind of a bit uncomfortable. Like I think she knew deep down that there was something not quite right with that picture, but she's 13, you know. She's a kid, she's a child. I'm a child too. What kind of a present, I said. The most beautiful perfume, come and see it. It was still in its packaging, she hadn't unpacked it yet. Almost like her hand was shaking a bit. What did he give you that for? Oh, because I think it was actually her birthday, so it was kind of a legit reason to give her a present, but it was a very expensive perfume. Did he tell you to put it on, Roslyn? No. But you see, he can't wait for me to smell it on me, or words to that effect. I said, don't be alone with that man ever again. Were you alone with him? Not exactly. Oh, listen to me, Roslyn. I'm going to tell you something, and I want you to understand it. Good. Don't ever be alone with that man. Ever. Always make sure there's someone with you. Your brother, your mum and dad are around. You know, if you have to, run down, come and get me. Don't be alone with him. Oh, what do you mean? I said, that man's got no good intentions towards you, Roslyn. Oh, he says he loves me. I said, oh, is that what they call it these days? Love. I said, honey, he loves you, but not in the way that's safe for a man and a teenage girl to be loved. Do you understand? She didn't really understand it, and I didn't want to be the one to tell her about the facts of life, just in case she hadn't been told, you know. I don't even think she'd had her period yet, to be honest. No, I don't think she had, because when she got a period, she freaked the fuck out, tried to hide it from everyone. I said, what are you hiding that for? I said, every woman bleeds once a month. Everyone. All you girls at school, they're all going to start bleeding at varying different times, because everyone starts in their own special timing. What, she says? Please don't tell my mother. Please don't tell my mother. I betrayed her. I did. I betrayed her. I told her mother because I thought someone's got to buy the bloody pads. Just fucking freaked out. It was hard for her because she grew up with 4 rough and ready brothers. They didn't understand about young girls getting their period. They really didn't. But anyway, I don't think that motherfucking possum killer ever got a chance to molest her, but that was his evil plan, right? Buying her expensive perfume, hanging around. Where's Rosalind? Rosalind's busy. She's doing her homework. Because I was living there. Rosalind wasn't doing her fucking homework. I wanted her to come out. I said, she's got things to do. She hasn't got time to hang around with you. Go kill a fucking possum. And then I'd walk off. You're such a bitch, Tanya. You got no idea, I said. I'm just warming up. You know. Oh my God. Here I was, 14 years old already in protector mode, trying to protect my little friends from the, the hangers-on and the fucking ring-ins hanging around my little girlfriends. Foul it was. Foul. Just foul. Then her mother had the nerve, the absolute fucking nerve, to betray me with my mother because she got involved with that last husband, that fucking Dutch Indonesian con man. He's writing her letters, bad-mouthing me all the time. I haven't done anything to deserve all that viciousness and slander. He just wanted my mother's money, right? Rosalind's mother buys into all that evil bullshit. So my mother, who was vicious and savage, a fucking thing, shows me the letters. Yeah, Mrs. Hodemaker's referred to you as the strange little girl. You were the strange little girl. I said, did you bother to explain to her how I became a bit fucking strange? No, darling. I said, this is classic fucking gaslighting and victim blaming. Fuck you. I just walked off. Strange little girl. I'll give you, strange little girl. I protected your daughter. She's dead now anyway. Who am I talking to? Her ghost. I protected your daughter, Muriel, as best as I could, given I didn't have any backup from the adults in my life. Ever. Ever. So anyway, what does it matter now? Rosalind Hodemakers has done well for herself, though. Got a wonderful man again. Apparently he's a policeman. And she travels all over the world, and she's very wealthy, and she's very successful. And to you, Rosalind. Your mother was a backstabbing, borderline fucking cunt of a thing, but I don't have a beef with you, Ros. You were like my little sister. Oh, we used to fight all through our childhood, rip each other's hair out in bunches and pummel each other. We'd be covered in bruises 1 minute, next minute. Best of friends. That's childhood, isn't it? Crazy. It was a crazy childhood. One time, I'm all of about 7 or 8. It must have been before we went to Germany, my mother and I. Must have been about 7. And I'm marching up the road. We lived by the sea. One street was ran parallel to the beach. And I'm marching up the street going to see Rosalind, to play with her. The day before, we'd had an epic fucking violent fight. It was bad. It was so bad. And so I start to march up, Mrs. Hodemaker's and Mr. Hodemaker's driveway. Mrs. Hodemaker's was a Cockney, East Londoner. Tall, statuesque, brash woman. And her husband was Dutch. He was a very kind man, very dour, and insulated and introverted and overworked and exhausted and often quite sad from what I could see. But he was, from what I could tell, was a decent man, you know. Never predated on me, thank God. One of the few in the neighbourhood that I could trust, actually. That is a high honour if the Tanya says you were a decent man during her childhood, because they were rare as hen's teeth. Rare! Anyway, so I'm stomping up my little, yes, I had a little stomp even at 7. And I'm stomping up their driveway, and Rosalind comes down with her mother beside her. Rosalind looking a little bit nervous. "Here, you little bastard." "Oh, what, Mrs. Hodemakers?" I was very respectful for my elders, you understand, because it had been beaten into me. "Yes, Mrs. Hodemakers." "What you doing walking up my driveway?" "I've come to play with Rosalind." "Yesterday," she says, "yesterday you and her bit the snot out of each other. Here, cop this. Show her your leg, Ros." Rosalind pulls up her little skirt, you know. And there was a bruise the size of a dinner plate under her knee. Big, massive fucking bruise. "You did that to my Rosalind." Yes, Mrs. Hodemakers, I did." "What you do that for?" I'm getting a bit intimidated here because she's clearly angry with me. "Well, it's like this, Mrs. Hodemakers. We were having a massive fight and Ros decided to pull my hair. Would you like me to show you what she did to me?" "All right then, show me." So I put my head down and I part my hair, and there was a big bald patch, this 2 inches wide, you know, where she'd ripped my hair out in a bunch. I said, "She tore my hair out, Mrs. Hodemakers. So I kicked the bitch. It's the only way I could stop her from tearing any more hair out, you understand?" Mrs. Hodemakers smiles like this. Looks at Rosalind. "Where's the hair?" I chucked it out. "You did that to Tanya?" "Yes, because we were good little girls. We never lied. To this day, I never tell a lie. If I get caught out doing something I shouldn't have done, well, fuck. I'm not happy about it, but I'm not going to lie about it. Because integrity and honour is everything. When you had our upbringing of violence and pedophilia and people who lie and deceive, get through life as nothing but dirty scumbag liars and slimy and deceptive, always trying to get around you as a child, buying expensive presents, for example. If they're not trying to get around you, they're trying to get around your parents, and your parents are smiling and taking all the money and gifts that come their way, basically prostituting their own babies out to these motherfuckers because they don't want to see it, don't want to know, don't want to protect their children, because that would involve being accountable and responsible, behaving like a fucking adult for once. The motherfuckers. All of them enabled it, including, in her own way, Mrs. Hodemakers calling me the strange little girl. Me? Strange? I was merely surviving them all. 7 years old, 6 years old, 8 years old, surviving them all. So excuse me if I scream now. Anyway, so Mrs. Hodemakers looks at me. Looks at the big fuck. You could see the still raw skin with hair being ripped out. Looks at me. Looks at Rosalind. Looks at the bruise. Looks meaningfully at me. I said, yeah, I kicked her and I'd do it again. Sorry, but not sorry. You better watch yourself, Tanya Phillips, she says to me. I said, really? I said, you should teach your kid to have a little bit more manners is to tear someone's hair out in bunches. She looks at Rosalind. She does this. I'm done with you kids, she said. 1 minute, you're literally trying to kill each other. And the next day, Tanya, you rock up and come to play like nothing happened. I said, yeah, because that was yesterday. And today is today. As a child, I was very good at living in the now. It's like, I bear grudges, much harder grudges now than I ever did when I was a child. Time is flubbery and space-time continuum and the getting of wisdom when you can see the enormity of how ugly and invidious everything has been that's been done to me. You don't have that gnosis as a child. You're just like, oh, well, they had a bad day. Or it was an off day. Or I looked at it in the wrong way. Or, you know, whatever excuse. That was then. This is today. We start fresh. Every day is like a gift, ready to be opened up, blossoming beautifully. I kind of still have that attribute a little bit still, that each day is a gift. Let's see what it brings us. Will it bring us love, light, truth, honour, integrity and peace, or will it bring us ugly, dirty, invidious, backstabbing, treacherous motherfuckers who don't really deserve to share planet Earth with anyone, but it is what it is. They have their role to play. I have my role to play. Surviving them all. Anyway, I don't just scratching her head. I still see it today as clear as day. I don't know what to do with you, little bastard, she says. I don't know what to do with you. I've never seen anything like it. All you've got is each other, you, Rosalind and Lynn. 3 little girls. You're the only girls in the street. All you've got is each other. And instead of playing nicely, you're trying to kill each other all the time. I don't understand it. She said, I never have trouble with the other 4 boys. She said, all I ever wanted was a little girl. I get a little girl and look at her. She's more savage than the boys. Rosalind and I look at each other and we just kind of nodded. Well, what are you going to do, you 2 kids? Oh, if you don't mind, we're going to go to the beach and we're going to play. Are you going to fight today? No, I don't think so. She's still got a gammy leg and I've still been scalped. Righto, on your bike, bugger off, go play. So we did. We scampered off hand in hand, happy as 2 little larrikins. Oh, Rosalind. Rosalind. But yeah, the fights were formidable. En français, formidable. The fights we had. We used to fight a lot, like a kind of a sibling rivalry, fighting for Lynn Robertson down the road. We fought for her love like 2 little demons. And Lynn Robertson, to her credit, most of the time, she was 4 years older than me, so 5 years older than Rosalind. Sometimes she'd play us off each other a little bit, like as siblings do, you know. She was an only child. I was growing up as an only child from the age of 5 because my sister got married when I was 5. So we didn't have anyone else. All we had was each other. And then Rosalind would compete like a demon sometimes, and I'd resent that competition because I didn't have anyone else. I didn't have anyone else. I wasn't safe in my own home, and I wasn't safe at school. And I wasn't particularly safe when I went to her house because we'd fight and hair would get yanked and I'd kick her and punch and scream and oh, the madness. It was all madness. So Lynn Robertson's parents' house, Lynn's parents, that was my only safe haven. I would have fought to the death to keep that safe haven. I was prepared. That was a hill I would have died on as a child. I had one place where I could go, where I was treated with respect and honour and genuine care. And it was in the Robertsons' house. And everyone looked down on them, because they were poor. Because the Hodemakers, Theo Hodemakers was a very famous yacht builder. He built yachts for the America's Cup even. He was very famous, wonderful craftsman. I used to love, sometimes I'd say, Mr. Hodemakers, can I come and look at the yacht you're working on? And can I just see what you're doing? And he didn't really like it. He was very private about his work. He was a true craftsman. But every now and then he'd say, okay, you can come and have a look. Everything was all inlaid and the veneer, everything shining, beautifully polished up, timbers, and it was astonishing. They weren't all that wealthy, but they were, he had 5 fucking kids to support. Muriel made money working for Susie's Coffee Lounge, baking all the cheesecakes for her. I remember that. Fridges full of cheesecake. Big industrial mixing thing, So they both worked hard. But they weren't desperately poor like the Robertsons were desperately poor. We were poor too, but maybe just a little bit up the sliding scale of what was deemed poor. I don't even think it's that they were poor that they looked down on them so much. It's that Ewan, Mr. Robertson, was a raging alcoholic. A terrible, terrible alcoholic. But, that man, even drunk as a skunk, never once laid a hand on me, never looked at me lasciviously, always treated me with kindness. He'd look at me sideways sometimes. I'd walk in. It's as if he knew. He knew. I think he knew that I was a victim of child sexual abuse. He never mentioned it. Sex was never mentioned. There was never any overtones, but he would just look at me, and I'm sure he knew. And I knew he knew. It was never spoken. You're welcome here anytime, Tanya Phillips. Anytime you can come to this house, day or night. You're welcome, kid. I like you. Thank you, Mr. Robertson. He'd be sitting on his chair, drunk as a skunk, eyes rolling back in his head, watching. Mrs. Robertson would be watching Coronation Street, and he'd be blotto. I like that kid. She's a good kid. And they fed me. I ate most of my meals at their house. I think my mother, probably knowing my mother, because she was a mercenary bitch, probably paid them a bit of money to feed me, because there was no point, She kind of probably had to, because they fed me so often and they were desperately poor. So I'd be at their house having dinner, and I'd walk in, because I was a cheeky little varmint. I was a survivor at 6 and 7 and 8. I've been a survivor all my life, people of Earth. What's for dinner, Mrs. Robertson? Corned beef and mashed potato and peas and carrots. Oh, yum, I love corned beef. I really loved corned beef. It was a treat because my mother never cooked it. Oh, I can't wait. And Lynn would be like, oh, gross, I'm going to vomit. She hated food. She had a problem with food even then. I was 7, she was 11. She was not a good eater. So June, Mrs. Robertson, would invite me over, because I was always so gastronomically gusto about my food, even as a child. that I'd get Lynn excited and she'd eat her dinner too, see me hoe into it. It was kind of a jealousy thing, like, that little shit's eating all my food, so I better eat it too. What's for pudding, Mrs. Robertson? Is it my favourite? Oh, I was treated like a queen in that house, honestly. I got the best of the best. I was totally spoiled, but also protected. I want to cry to this day when I think about it. She'd, Mrs. Robertson would say, "I've got a surprise for you, Tanya." "What's that?" "Tonight we're having bread and butter pudding." "Oh my goodness, really? What did I do to deserve that?" She said, "Because you're such a good little girl. And I love you so much. And I love you coming to visit us. And I love you encouraging Lynn to eat her dinner. You're the only one that can. I love you, and I love your enthusiasm for life, Tanya. And I love your zest for life, and I want you to know you always keep that going. No matter what, you keep that enthusiasm and joy of life. It'll stand you in good stead one day. You don't know who it might inspire or how it might just get you through dark times. You keep that alive in you, Tanya, as long as you can. She'd be sitting on the couch knitting. She always knitted. She was a beautiful knitter. Oh, beautiful cable work and knitting. It's how she calmed her nerves. She had very bad nerves and very bad depression, very bad anxiety, you know. And he was often abusive to her. He was. He was abusive to her. We all kind of knew it, us kids. But he was never abusive to us children, thank the gods. And so she'd be sitting knitting frantically. She'd tell me, because her parents were Norwegian, so she'd tell me about the Viking gods and Thor and Odin and Freya and Loki, and teach me about, you know, her Norse spirituality, although she was a very devout Lutheran, very devout. We were brought up Lutheran too, you know, my household. But I think her family were even more religious than Mum was, you know. And but she'd teach me about the Norse gods. That was a wonderful gift she gave me. She'd teach me about fairies. She said they're all just stories, you know, but their spirits and their energy, and they'll stand you in good stead, Tanya. I wonder what she would have thought if she was still alive, to know that I named my home and my business that I haven't turned into a business yet because I'm not well enough and I haven't had enough support and I'm too old and I'm too tired and excuses, but nothing's sold. Every time I went to the markets, nothing's sold. I thought, what's the fucking point? Just losing money here. But anyway, I named it Titania's Realm after Queen Titania of the Forest Fae, because I live at the foot of a forest, and Queen Titania and Oberon. And it's a beautiful love story, and I thought maybe one day I'll have a beautiful love story of my own, am I right? Living in fairy world as I do. 1 foot in the bloody grave, 1 foot in the skies, holding my own on planet Earth. I think Mrs. Robertson would be proud of me though, seeing me come a long way from almost dying so often, even in childhood, so often. Each time I nearly died, she'd ask me about it. What did you see? What happened? I said, all I saw was this beautiful light shining down from the surface of the ocean, like a hand reaching down to grab me, watching all my bubbles of my breath floating upwards. And I said, the peace, such peace. and I was ready. It's always just at the point when I'm ready to just let go and leave that something or someone saves me. Always at that last magical 11th hour. Who saved you, Tanya? Lynn. The hand I saw and I thought was an angel's hand reaching down for me was your daughter yanking me up by the hair and shaking me like a wet doll. Really, Tanya? Yes, really. She actually did that on 2 occasions. One time I nearly drowned at Lyell Bay while the Hoda makers were surfing. Boys weren't worried about a little girl behind them. Completely forgot about me. I got dumped by a very powerful wave, and I was rolling along the bottom of the seabed, rolling on home, baby boys and baby girls. Kept rolling. When I stopped rolling, I was just kind of waddling a little bit. And I'm looking up and I'm like, can't hold my breath for much longer. That's it. Ah, well, this is how it ends. Actually, I was 14 when that happened. 14. One of my near drownings. There were about 3 near drownings in my childhood. One when I was 4, when my father was swinging me around in the surf at Paraparaumu. It's the New Zealand Gold Coast, beautiful beach. I'll never forget that either. He's laughing and being playful, thinking he's playing, and I'm taking in water and literally starting to drown. He was oblivious. He's just laughing and laughing. I look up, I think, I'm going to fucking drown here. 4 years old. Well, I didn't drown, miraculously, because apparently little kids that take in that much seawater can drown later on in the night in their sleep. It's how it often happens. They seem fine and then they drown later. It's weird, isn't it? It's probably why I've got obstructive sleep apnea to this day, though. All that having to hold my breath as a child and hope like hell that I stay alive. And even as a child, I was like quite okay with the concept of not staying alive, you understand, because life had not been easy, not been kind, and I'd never been safe. Anyway, to you, Mrs. June and Mr. Ewan Robertson, for giving me a measure of safety. Oh, there was a time my paedophile godfather, who was obsessed with me. He was such a fucking predator. And at that time I was actually living with the Robertsons. I'd been sent home from Australia. I was living with Mum and Case in Melbourne from the ages of 9 till 12. But when I was 11, they flew me home for Christmas to spend Christmas holidays with June and Ewan and Lynn, because I was so homesick for Island Bay, Wellington. And I missed them so much. And quite frankly, to all intents and purposes, they were my family, my only family, because I was safe with them. Even my mother instinctually knew that, actually. She did. She put me on a plane and sent me home to New Zealand for the 6-week school holidays. And so I was living with them. And Trevor was my godfather, Trevor Singh. He was living in Mum's batch in our family home. She always rented the house. That's how she made money. So he was living in this little batch and he would demand that I visit him every day. He wasn't sexually predating on me at that time. That had stopped just before we got on the ship and sailed to Germany. I was 7 turning 8. I turned 8 on the ship. That had stopped, thank the fucking gods. Because at that stage, Lynn and I were trying to figure out ways to murder him. We literally were. We looked for the brake line. Didn't know what a brake line was, but Lynn had read, because she was an avid reader, that if you cut a brake line, the car would crash and he would die. That was the idea. Yep, heavenly creatures we were, and righteously so. The only good PDF file is a dead PDF file. You understand? Some of you probably don't understand, because you're probably PDF eyes or enablers yourselves, but any normal person or any survivor understands very well what I'm putting down. I was going to read you stories today, and I've ended up segueing all over the place, and there'll be no reading the story today because it's too intense and emotional. I'm having an intense and emotional day, people of Earth. This is my second attempt to make this video, by the way. The first one, I had to delete it because I talked about someone that isn't worth ever mentioning again. PDF file, fantasist, enabler, asshole, whatever his agenda was that he thought he could destroy the Tanya. It's backfiring on him, isn't it, darlings? Because Mama T holds her own, anywhere, anyhow. So anyway, I deleted that one, and that one won't be mentioned. I'm just waiting for the time to catch up for him to realise the enormity of what he thought he was going to do to me and what he could get away with. It'll catch up to him one day. It'll slam him like a ton of bricks, and I'll just be sitting back going, yeah, baby. Anyway, where was I? Trevor. So Trevor was turning up at, actually, was that when I was 11? Or was I younger? No, I was definitely living with him at that time. Definitely living with him. Must have been when I was 11. Anyway, he turns up, and I want Tanya to come to my place. not a word was spoken. I just looked at June. She asked me to call her June when I was married, treated me as an equal then. I wasn't comfortable with it either. It took a lot for me to call her June. Mrs. Robertson. So I just looked up at Mrs. Robertson. She just looked at me. This was the look. Deadpan, flat look. Not a word spoken between us. And June starts shaking because she actually lived in fear of these men. She really did, to her credit. There was a lot to fear. And my mother, she was terrified of my mother too. There was a lot to fear. They were fearful people because they were animals, you understand. Animals. And so she looks at them, looks at me, looks at him. She says, I don't think that's a good idea. Oh, why is that? Tanya's under my jurisdiction, living under my roof. I make the decision where she goes, who she spends time with. Do you want to visit your Uncle Trevor today? Tanya, I'll give you the option because you're your own person and you have your own say. This is how she treated me. What a wonderful mother she was. I looked at her and said, if you don't mind, Mrs. Robertson, I'm happy playing with Lynn today. I'd rather just stay here. Okay, Tanya. You can go, Trevor. Just said it really calmly. Turned her head to him. You can go now. He arcs up about it because he's used to having his way. Literally having his way. Controlling the little Tanya. Hanging out with me and acting as if he's my boyfriend, which he never was. And he was vile. I itch to this day. I want to vomit a little bit in my mouth when I think about it, to be honest. He arcs up about it. You're coming with me now, Tanya. I'm your godfather, and you're my family member, and you obey me. And he's swaggering, you know. They had this one step that went across from the kitchen step down into their living area. I walked up to him and I just pushed him with my finger in the middle of his stomach and I said, I take orders from no one but Mrs. Robertson. I'm under her care now. And I pushed him and he literally fell backwards and he went very white with shock. Little Tanya fighting him off. That had never happened before. Never would have occurred to me. I was too afraid of those motherfuckers. This is a man who owned his own illegal casino, by the way, which I had to be privy to and dragged around, paraded around there. Oh my goodness. Well, anyway. So, he falls back. He falls quite hard. Didn't really hurt himself, but he fell. It was a loud thud. And I'm standing there with my little arms folded like this. June looks at him again. Think you better leave now, Trevor. He gets up. Well, I never, he said. Walks out. Didn't turn up for about 3 or 4 days. You gonna go with me now? I just rolled my eyes. I don't even know what that was about. You know. I really don't. He wasn't molesting me sexually, but it was all this acting besotted and in love and treating me like I'm a little trophy. Oh, it was sick. All of it. So fucking sick. But I was the strange little girl, you understand. Why? Because I dared to fight for myself. I dared to hold myself precious. I dared to keep myself as pristine as I could manage given their predilections. Jesus. Fuck it, I'm going to carry on reading this story. Where were we? We were up to Spielcheck, who got murdered. Oh yes, we segued at the cyanide and that fucking PDF file that was hanging around my little Roslyn. I got lost in space there for a moment. Don't mind me. It's just Mama T trying not to die every day and every way. Just gonna run out and check the time because if I check on this we get blocked off. I'll be right back, people of Earth. What you doing, handsome boy? I'm gonna shut you in. Yes. .08 a.m. Right. More cyanide was believed to be in the hands of at least one unidentified prisoner. Just so you know, we believe it might have been brought over here recently by an inmate, the warden said. A pinhead of cyanide. We can't help you, so watch what you're drinking. Be careful who you accept a cup of coffee from. Prisoner Tommy Retard Horner wasn't a smart man, but he did know who had the cyanide. Retard had briefly been with the choice until Campbell kicked him out for being too much of an idiot. He had the audacity to tell me when we were in Millhaven that he wanted to come back to the club. I reminded him who kicked him out. Duh. Making things worse, Retard had developed a serious liking for Valium since his ouster from the choice. Why would you like that? It's awful. It's really awful. I only have one when I'm in a really, really bad state and I have to be really bad to have it. It gets like that. I'll be so bad mentally, like literally firing on all 4 cylinders, like flying out of my body, that I actually will ring my psychiatrist without our usual debrief, you understand? It's the only time I call him is if I'm really bad like that. And he just says to me, yes, you're having a serious panic attack, Tanya. You need to take a Valium. And you know what? I don't even think about the Valium until he tells me you need to take one, and maybe another one tonight. I literally have to have doctor's orders to take Valium. That's how much I hate that shit. Anyway, fortunately, I haven't had an attack like that in a long time. He had gulped down fistfuls of the drug at one point, rather than have them confiscated by guards. The results were repulsive. Oh! He was shitting them out and eating them again because he's a Valium freak. I have to think about that. Like, what? Anyway. One day when Campbell was walking in the yard with an inmate named Phil, he heard a voice bellowing from the prisoner's sick bay. Lorne! Campbell looked around and couldn't see anyone. Lorne! Keep walking, Phil said. Campbell kept walking. Lorne! You know that fucking guard we're getting the Valiums from? He's putting it on us. Keep walking, Phil said. Lorne, you know that cocksucker guard? He put it on us. The shouting was a reminder of how Retard got his nickname and why Campbell was right to boot him from the choice in the first place. After Spielcheck's murder, Retard told the prisoners with the cyanide that he would hide it in his cell since no one suspected him. The poison was eventually discovered by guards and Retard was put in the hole until he fessed up about who had given it to him. Eventually, he put it on the other guys. He ratted on them. Ratting on fellow inmates is a crime far worse than Valium addiction or idiocy. It's the worst possible breach of prison's unwritten rules, and it didn't matter if the cyanide had been used to kill a popular fellow inmate. Campbell lost sight of Retard after that, but it was clear he would now be forever shunned, or worse, by other inmates. A rat is a rat is a rat. You'd think they'd be fucking grateful that no one was being poisoned with cyanide, though. So he was a rat that wasn't a cyanided rat going. But, you know, there's no logic sometimes with these people. It's like they're a bit thick, isn't it? You know, I'm saying that out loud on my channel. Sometimes their logic is very skewed indeed. I hope nothing happened to retard for ratting that out, because he saved their lives, actually. It's how I view it. But were their lives worth saving if they're going to shank him for being a rat? No. So you see, good and evil and the tree of life. Jesus. Not Jesus, but you know what I mean. Campbell's old friend, Larry Valentine, had been sent directly to Collins Bay upon conviction. I'm really thirsty, I need a cup of tea. Anyway, by the time Campbell arrived, Valentine had already found himself a cherished spot as head of the inmates' grievance committee. But anyone who showed up expecting a warm shoulder to cry upon was in for a rude awakening. Prisoners who complained that they needed extra bed sheets or delivered up other snivelling grievances that bored Valentine were sent packing with words like, "Get the fuck out of here, you fucker." One of the Valentine's pearls of advice when approached by morose inmates who wanted to whine about their confinement was, if you want to be a cowboy, you've got to learn to ride the range. He meant prison range, of course. The message was simple. You got caught, so shut up and serve your time. Hey, little boy, you're singing to the mama. You sang me beautiful songs this morning. Well, I'm up early, 7 o'clock, he woke me up. He was doing this. It was an unusual call, he hadn't done that before. But I know he's a much happier birdie than when he first came here. It took him it took him about 6 weeks to be happy living with the mama T. He didn't like the change, and then he didn't like being stuck in a small cage when when Kermie got the bigger cage. Oh, look at this. Look at this, people of Earth. This is why I'm alive. Look at that sweetness. Kermie, you on your swing? You gonna swing it? Swing to swing for the mama T. Swing. No, you're just sitting there, very stabilised. Oh, here we go. It was a little bit of a swing. The other day he was swinging it sideways like that. It's very cute. Swing your swing, little handsome boy. Yes, I love you. Anyway, what was I saying? Yeah, little Bo, he's a really happy little birdie now. He's very happy. Look at him. Say hello to the people, little Bo. Say hello. I'm a very happy cockatiel. I still try to kill the mama T every chance I get, but it's kind of like a cosplay now. I'm not that serious. Yeah. He's getting used to me. He's getting used to me, people of Earth. It's like a drip, drip, drip of water on a hard, crusty old rock. I have ways of grinding my enemies down. Eventually they totally love me. And if they don't, not my monkey, not my circus. Right. There we go. That's a bit better. Campbell asked Valentine for some advice when he was going to be sent for a few days to the medical unit inside the nearby Kingston Penitentiary to get his hemorrhoids treated. Kingston Penitentiary was the permanent home of the lowest of the low of prison society, the protective custody prisoners such as child molesters and convicted police officers. Some of them worked in the kitchen, and Campbell shuddered to think of such people handling his food. He wanted to get back to Collins Bay as quickly as possible. You know, my dumb motherfucker with very skewed ethics and a very skewed sense of justice, she really was dumb. 3 degrees and thick as pig shit. My half-sister, Angela. You know, she kept both Trevor Singh and Graham Denich out of prison a few times. Must have done some pretty swift talking. Kept them out of prison. I used to look at her, I'd think, I'd love for those bastards to go to prison, because they'll get shanked for being child molesters. Not that Graham Denich actually molested me, but there was intention there. He was slimy as fuck. There was always this kind of undercurrent of lust looking at me like I was some kind of dirty rag. And he was Trevor Singh's best friend, you know. I used to pray, please put that motherfucker Trevor Singh in prison. Please, God, let him go to prison, because I even knew as a child that it didn't go well for those kinds of men in prison, you understand. I'd say to Lynn Robertson, this is our only chance. He goes to prison. He doesn't come out alive. So what does the bitch do? My much older sister, the lawyer, advocates for him, keeps him out of prison. Why did she do that? He'd predated on her as a child. Why did she protect that motherfucker? Why would you protect someone? Why would you stand by someone like that? Why would you protect and enable them to predate on your own baby sister? What kind of monsters are they actually? And other salient questions to which there will never be a direct answer, because they're too fucking lacklustre and empty and cowardly to own up to their own shit. They haven't done the 30 years of therapy. They haven't got any courage, and they haven't got any couth. Defending that school principal in, where was it? Napier. That raging fucking paedophile with all his child pornography caught on his laptop. What did my sister say? He should have thrown it out the window and denied it was his. I'm so embarrassed he got caught. My reputation as a lawyer, being friends with a man found convicted of child pornography, it was all about her reputation, her saving face. I said, what about the children in Thailand, Angela? Oh, well, they're in Thailand, aren't they? They're far away from us. They've got nothing to do with us. This was how she framed it in her sick, twisted mind. I said, are you fucking kidding me? Those are real little girls and real little boys. Just happen to come from a foreign country and eat different food and have a different culture and worship a different God, but there's still children that deserve to be safe, just as we deserved to be safe in New Zealand and Australia in my case. No, they don't matter. They get paid to do that. They do it for the money. I said, they're innocent children that don't know any better, and their parents are probably taking the money. They probably never saw any money from it. They were tortured, Angela. They were tortured. A lot of those children probably aren't alive today. He's looking at these movies of these children getting off on it, and those children are by and large dead. They're expendable. They're worthless to them because they're in some foreign country. This is how evil it is. When fellow survivors who grew up to be lawyers can justify that, evil. I'm glad that bitch declared me dead in 2012. You did me a favour. You rotten, dirty, fucking filthy, verminous animal. Didn't protect your little sister. Barely protected your own daughter, by the way. It was me at 14. Another example. Trying to protect my niece from Trevor. He says to me, comes up to me, because he was a psychopath, knew which button to push, right? Comes up to me, he says, Marika's very pretty now. I'm 14. Marika's 6 years younger than me. She was 8. She was the precise age he liked, children between the ages of 6 to 10, right? I'd already worked that out because I realised that he didn't press the point sexually with me after I came back from Germany, actually. I was too old in his sick, perverted worldview. Thank the gods for that, because I swear to God, if he tried to molest me one more time, I would have been in some kind of juvenile penitentiary for some brutal bloody murder. I would have. He'd look at me and there'd just be blood in my eye and he'd know. Back off, boyfriend. Anyway, he says to me this particular day when I'm 14, because he was still dragging me around everywhere with him as if I was his little miniature wife or consort. He's driving around with me and he looks me in the eye and he says, I want to talk to you about Marika. What about her? She's so pretty now, he says. Looks at me. So pretty. All you children were so pretty. You were a pretty child too, Tanya. Just staring at him. I tell you what, I think he did it in a way, pushed that button to see. It's almost like he was daring me to kill him. Daring me. I think he had a bit of a death wish, you understand. A lot of us do, survivors. We write a fine line. It's kind of a death wish. My friend Bobby Orley, who was involved with the Hells Angels back in the day, he said it to me. He said, I'm part Cherokee and I'm part Welsh. And you, my darling, have a death wish. You've been chasing death all your life, haven't you, Tanya? I said, I am death. Death and I are simpatico. Yes, he says, I recognise it in your spirit. Why aren't you dead, Tanya? I said, the gods are a bit twisted and they keep me alive, even against my own will. He nodded. When are you going to choose life, Tanya? You're with that dud motherfucker Courtney, which I was when we were having this conversation. I said, yes, I know. That's not living, Tanya. No, it's not, is it? It's really not. What are you going to do about it, Tanya? I'll ride it out to its penultimate end as I do. Some things have a season and a lesson and a reason. Bobby nodded. I want you to think about it, Tanya. You've lived with death all your life. I want you to choose life for a change. I said, you know what? You're the second person to tell me that. Who was the first? I said, that defunct, evil, perverted homeopath back in 2000. After he tried to strangle me, he had the nerve to tell me to choose life. I threw my head back and I laughed and I laughed and I fucking laughed. Because ultimately it becomes a bit funny, you know. You have to have lived it for it to be funny, though. No one else gets the joke. So, motherfucker, Uncle Trevor Singh says to me, Marika's very pretty now. I looked him dead in the eye. Still remember sitting in his very vintage Humber Hawk car. Very nice car it was. I said, Uncle Trevor, it's going to be like this. You even think about laying a hand on my niece, I'll tell everyone what you did to me. Everyone will know. Not just the family, but the entire world. He goes a bit pale. Yeah, nah, I wouldn't do that to you, Tanya. I'm faithful to you, he says. That's how sick he was. So evil and sick. Oh, are you? Oh, that's nice. I get out of the car and I just walked off. Went into some kind of fugue state. I thought, I've got this adult man who I've known since I was a tiny baby. He'd been my godfather since I was a baby. It's in my fucking christening photos when I was being christened, a nice little Lutheran girl, you understand. Suffer the children to come into me. Filthy religion. Filthy. It's all filthy, all of it. All of it. Right across the board. I don't discriminate. It's all filthy. You can't protect your own children. You're filthy, and there's no other word to describe it. Anyway, so I had the job, like a little earth angel, 14 years old, protecting Rosalind, protecting Marika. I had all that burden and weight of the world on my little head, 14 years old. So excuse me every now and then when I blow my top and I like to get a bit drunk, and well, I never get drunk when I'm out dancing because it's not safe to do so, but when I have a few drinks and I do the wild mosh and I dance wildly and joyously and triumphantly, it's just a little pressure cooker, letting the steam out, feeling free and beautiful and wild and creating my own magic. What else have I got going on, people of Earth? After the fucking childhood I had, and my 20s and 30s and 40s and right up to age 50. And then I thought I was going to have a lovely 60th birthday surrounded by people who, if not love me, at least kind of like me and respect me. No, that got sabotaged too. So excuse me if I occasionally feel like having a good long fucking screech about what's been done to me for no good reason, but they could. So I got news when I was out with Jared, because I always ask Jared, you know, because I'm a loyal mother. I'm a loyal motherfucker. I'm a loyal mother, I'm a loyal woman. How's my daughter Crystal doing? My daughter Crystal couldn't give a flying fuck about me, as she demonstrated when I thought I was dying with my bladder in September 2003. She cut ties to me. I was very ill then. I actually genuinely thought I was not gonna make it. Here we are, almost 2 years later. I'm still making it, by the gods. Don't ask me how I do it. I don't know. Anyway, so I ask him. I say, how's Crystal doing? She's going to see a specialist. She's been diagnosed with ADHD. She'll be livid that I shared that piece of private information, but there's a reason why I'm sharing it, people of Earth. COVID vaccines. The fucking COVID vaccines. I begged her, don't do it. Don't do it. You don't know how it's going to have long-term effects on you. No one does. Hasn't been properly tested. They've just militarised it and forced it on all of us. Here's another example. My own daughter. Late stage ADHD. Who diagnosed her with that, I said. What kind of specialist? Jared's dancing around on hot coals because he knows my mind's like a steel trap. I'm straight for it. I know exactly what he's telling me without telling me because he's terrified that I'll go off half-cocked, which I do. Here's me going off a bit half-cocked now. A specialist. What kind of specialist? A psychiatrist or a psychologist? Because you know those pissant psychologists kept feeding her bullshit about her own mother, and look at the destruction they've wrecked. Wrecking balled. The fucking incompetent idiots. I'm shaking with rage to think about it, the incompetence and the negligence. And again, it's a form of abuse. Turn her, my one and only loving daughter, against me. That last fucking psychologist she saw. Well, that's all right. It is what it is. The truth remains the truth, no matter what, no matter who. He goes a little bit pale when he said, I believe it's a psychiatrist. I said, good. She finally is getting proper treatment with a proper professional. Thank the gods for that. Have they put her on any medication? I asked. Yes. Is it working? I ask. Can you see my train of thought here? The Tanya got her hopes up. If my daughter gets stabilised and well enough, she might want me in her life again. Sad, isn't it? It's fucking sad. But that's what it's come to. Her needing proper psychiatric treatment and fucking medication. You know how I hate psych meds. You know how I hate it. Now they've got her on that hurdy-gurdy fucking ride. She might never get off it. Because we're vulnerable. We've been under attack for so long. She hasn't got ADHD. Trust me on that. I'm certain it's a misdiagnosis. I'm certain. But I can't do anything because she wrote me out of her life and she wouldn't fucking listen to me if I told her anyway. But she's got complex PTSD from the years we were threatened by the Rosilio bastards at Waterford West. That's what she's got. Fuck, I'm going to have to take a Valium today. I've worked myself into a tizzy, haven't I? But I'm just so distressed, people of Earth. I know I'm bleeding all over my YouTube channel and you're getting to see it. But it's genuine. It's like my daughter, who quite frankly, when she came back from the UK, England and Ireland, early 2018, she wasn't right. She wasn't right when she came back. I knew it then. My daughter's altered. She's not quite right mentally. There's something gone wrong. couldn't put my finger on it exactly. And then she said, oh, I did a fair bit of shrooms over there with this fucking shroomer. And so deep down, she knows. She knows. She's altered her brain chemistry. And we've got very sensitive brain chemistry wiring because we've got decades. Probably a century. It probably goes back fucking in the family bloodlines. Decades of intergenerational trauma, My grandmother Eva bet my mother almost to death on a daily basis throughout her childhood. My mother bet me and exposed me to the familial pedophiles. I smacked my children. I admit, I wasn't a perfect mother either. That's why I have to wear it when they say I don't want anything to do with you. Fair cop. Fine. I wasn't perfect either. There were things I could have done differently. I don't know how, since in those days I really was struggling just to keep us alive and together, but I did what I could and I failed. All right? Both my daughters have never and likely will never have children, and I have to wear that too. It's the price that I pay for being a not good enough mother. But I tell you, people of Earth, the final fucking kick, the final kicker was that COVID vaccine. She held out for Moderna. I'm holding out for Moderna. It's going to be better. Why? It's Australian. Are you mad? It's the same fucking poison they put in all of them. I've researched it. It's better, Mum. No, don't have any of it. If I don't have it, I lose my job. I lose my apartment. I'll be homeless. I said, then you come here. You live with me. I'd rather die than live with you. Well, then die. Now she twisted it to that I told her that I wanted to die, which is not the case. I just said, you choose life, safety with your mother, with a roof over your head till you die, because it's fucking housing commission. And yes, it is a kind of an open-air prison, because we can't get up and out of it. Can't improve my life. Which is another failure. But on the other hand, she wouldn't be running around macked off her face on medication for ADHD gifted her by the COVID vaccine either, would she? She might have actually been okay and with a bit of therapy to deal with the trauma issues handed down through the generations and gifted her by the Rosilios and her own mother and father and our fucking government and state. She might have somehow, like the Mama T, just kind of pulled it together and just lived a very fine line of just skating on the edge of reason. She might have been okay. That's what I'm saying here. Well, anyway, apparently the medication is helping, my friend Jared tells me, and she's able to be motivated and be a bit clear-headed now. And so maybe I'm being a bit catastrophic about her being reliant on psych medication. Maybe it won't be so bad. Maybe it'll just give her that extra buffer to just keep her, just keep her even. It's all you can do with the Phillips errands is just keep us a little bit even. Anyway, I do hope it helps my daughter and that she gets better, and maybe one day forgives her mother for being poor and defunct and defective and unloved and unprotected all her fucking life. When that man, I won't name him because he's a low-level entity, fucking dog, but when he came to me and said, I really love you, Tanya, and I just want you to be safe, that was the equivalent of giving me 20-carat diamond ring and dressing me in jewels and silks and anointing me as a queen. I fell for it. I fell for it. I thought he genuinely cared about me as a person, loved me and wanted me safe. Safety. Safety. That was his lure, to suck me in. And then he got upset when I didn't take his bait. And then he replaced me with pterodactyl face. Oh well. Any hole's a goal to these men, isn't it? I got no respect for you, really. None. So I let it go because that's their mentality. And let's face it, he started off so lovely, promising me safety and telling me he loves my power and that I'm awesome, that I'm amazing, that he loves my dance. And then he turned rancid, so maybe he's got ADHD from the COVID vaccines too. Wonder how many boosters he's had. I'm not being mean. Genuine curiosity wants to know. That personality change that turned him rotten. Probably was always rotten, I just didn't know because I'd never seen it before, you know. The rotten side. But I can't help wanting to think good of him still because I'm like that. I'm loyal and I'm a bit retarded too, but dumb. He's had a personality change, that man. It came up in one of my Beyond 303 group, I think. Someone posted how the COVID vaccines are causing huge personality changes, depression, ADHD, psychotic outbursts, homicidal, deviant behaviour. It's all bubbling to the surface, people of Earth. It's fucking terrifying and chilling. And here's my daughter, another victim of that, being newly diagnosed with ADHD. And then Jared said to me, you know, her father probably has ADHD too. I said, oh yeah, my ex-husband was never right in the head. You know, he was on the autism spectrum, not an intelligent autist, unfortunately, but he had something not right with him, you know. And with my background, the madness of my line, my father and my mother, you know, it was kind of a fait accompli, wasn't it, that my offspring weren't going to be all that perfect mentally either. But I don't think she had ADHD before the COVID vaccine. She came back strange from the UK. I noted that. I took particular note of that. It was alarming to me. I said, what drugs did you do over there? Oh, just the shrooms, Mummy. I didn't like them. They made me crawl on all fours and feel like I needed to shit. She said, I didn't get any pleasure out of that experience at all. I said, doesn't sound terribly joyful to me either. Don't bother trying them, Mum. Won't do you any good. Didn't do me any good. It's supposed to help you with complex PTSD, I said. I've been very tempted to microdose, thinking it might actually help me. Don't bother, Mum. I took much higher doses, she said, just gave me the shits. I looked at her and I laughed. I said, you didn't do anything else over there? Nothing nastier? No, I swear to you, Mum, I didn't. Only the shrooms. Okay, I said. Okay. Mind altered. Comes back mind altered. Well, she's 40 in November. 40 years old. And if she stabilises on the ADHD medication, and that's a big if because She's a Phillips. She's got my bloodlines in her, by the gods. God help us all. But if she stabilises, she might come good one day, and who knows? Who knows what could happen? Who knows what could happen? Anyway, where was I? I better finish the story, because if I don't, I'm going to run out of time, and then I'm going to go to my hairdresser, and then I'll be pissed off about failing and not being able to complete my mission. 1 hour, 40 minutes in. By the gods. I'm thirsty. Oh yes, we were talking about the child molesters and convicted cops. Some of them worked in the kitchen, and Campbell shuddered to think of such people handling his food. Exactly. Not fit to breathe next to us, let alone touch us or even our food. Trevor was obsessed with feeding me. It's amazing I didn't grow up to be anorectic, actually, because I'd look at the food. He knew which buttons to push and what my favourites were. Bread and butter pudding, baked rice pudding, meringues, pavlova, custards. Oh, they loved to feed me, my family, and my real family, the Robertsons. They loved to feed me. It's like they derived some comfort from thinking, we got one thing right. We're at least feeding the Tanya properly. It's the only fucking thing they got right, by the way, with their parenting. Oh, and Mrs. Robertson being protective and nurturing. The other motherfuckers, it's a bare minimum they could do was chuck some food on my plate and give me my favourite food and try not to torture me about food. Don't ever torture me about food, people of Earth. Don't ever starve me. Don't ever try to feed me something I don't like, because it won't happen. There'll be a war. Full-scale war. My half-sister used to try and force shellfish down my neck. I love it. It tastes beautiful. You'll love it too. She once tried to make me eat an oyster. Copious vomiting incurred. Oh, you're putting on an act. I went, what? I can act this much vomit? Fuck you. Of course, I got belted over the head for that one, but, oh, she was an animal. She really was an animal. She still is, no doubt, an animal. But, you know, at the end of the day, you've got to let it go, don't you? Just got to let it go. She's 75 now. She's an old lady now. Sooner or later, I'll get the news. Someone will let me know through the grapevine, you understand, that she's died. I'll probably even shed a few tears, because after all, she is my half-sister. We shared the same womb once. Yeah, I'll spare her a few tears, and then I'll let it go, like I've had to let go of everything else in life, including my own daughters. She wanted to get back to Collins. Why do I keep saying she? He wanted to get back to Collins Bay as quickly as possible. Larry said, when the food's delivered, fire it back at them. I said, okay, I'll do that. There's stool pigeons, child molesters. You don't take the chance to eat the food they're handling. I was on heavy medication. I thought the bed was going to rise up like a Frankenstein movie. It was like a dungeon. Valentine's strategy might have worked, but Campbell was too high on medication to put it into practice. I get that, sweetheart. I get what that feels like. When a nurse arrived to talk about a meal, Campbell warned her, if you give me that food, I'll fire it right back at you. The nurse just walked away. I don't know how he did that because I was ravenous when I was on psych meds. I ballooned out to 103 kilograms. I shuffled, I drooled, I had Parkinsonian symptoms. My arm would voluntarily jerk like that. It was awful, it was drooling. Gail, my so-called psych nurse best friend, looks at me, she says, I can't be seen with you in public anymore, Tanya. Why? You look too much like a mental patient now. It's embarrassing. I deal with it when I go to the hospital. I don't want to deal with that shit in my private life. I said, Gail, you're the reason I'm on the psych meds. You told me I needed them. She says, yeah, well, look at you now. You're a fucking drooling, shuffling zombie. And I was. So I took it from her. Anyone else I would have laid out cold, mind you. Treacherous fucking bitch that she was. Ultimately, it's how that friendship ultimately ended. And I can't be seen with you anymore. It's just too, it's not good for my self-esteem, she says. Another fucking narcopath. Okay, I said. Okay. So, I don't know how or why. It's complicated. I guess I was lonely. I had no one else. But I dragged that friendship out and I breathed life into it until February 2015 when I turned to her and I said to her, I'd taken a bit of a dive because I'd been sexually assaulted at the Irish Murphy's pub and no one protected me. They all just stood back and watched like it was free entertainment. Oh, you dirty motherfuckers. So I spiralled down mentally and I turned to Gail and I said, I think I'm going to kill myself. Oh, don't be telling me that, Tanya. I said, you're a forensic psych nurse. Isn't it your job to keep people alive? Here's a card for the outpatients for the Metro North psych thing. Give them a call, tell them you want to kill them yourself. They can deal with you. I'm not dealing with you anymore, she says to me. I looked at her. I said, I have put myself in danger for you and your heroin addict methadone program daughter on several occasions, dragging her from drug deals gone wrong and psychotic drug fucked boyfriends wanting to kill her and one that even had kidnapped her at one stage. I went there with you and Pedro to save your daughter, and this is how you treat me now when I'm genuinely in need. For the first time I'm telling you I'm in trouble, and this is how you treat me now. So I took the card. I went home and I cried. I cried for about a day, actually. I cried for a lot of things that had nothing to do with Gail. A lot of things came up. And I thought to myself, it's time I died. It's time I died. But I looked at that card and the condescending way she treated me, and I thought, fuck you. I'm not going to die. Not today. Probably not tomorrow either. And I somehow pulled it together, just fighting my way through life, but I ended the friendship with her that day. That was the end. I'd had 15 years of nothing but stress with her, her daughter, her granddaughter who had so many complex mental health issues that she was a demon child. And I'd stood by them and acted as if I was family, which ultimately I wasn't. I was quickly discarded when I was not coping. So anyway, I dragged myself through from February 2015 to August 2015 when I got tipped over the edge again, and I did attempt suicide. And then after that, very next day, came home, not dead, not much alive either, but not dead. I'd had another near-death experience where I basically got downloaded. And then by May 2016, I turned to my psychiatrist. I said, I'm going off all the psych meds. They're not helping me. I'm not well. And they haven't done one iota for my mental health. All they've done is make me drool and shuffle, get hugely fat, and rely on other psych meds to deal with the Parkinsonian symptoms, and so on and so forth. I said, it's just a spiral into hell and there's no way out of it but death. So I'm choosing life. What are you going to do, Tanya? I want off those psych meds, I said. I just want to see how I'll travel without them. Just flush me out and let's see how we go. I was supposed to flush them out over the course of 2 months, but I got excited and carried away, but determined. I did it in 1 month. Did nothing but shit for 1 month. Shit. I've never shit so much in my life. Every cell in my body extruded those psych meds. But I got better and I never looked back. And yes, I've taken a few hits this year. Charlie's death, that bad injury when I cut my arm open. That filthy, treacherous man that I thought loved me turning on me like a rabid dog. That sexual assault, again a huge trigger for me in the club 2 nights before Charlie's death. Yes, I went into a bit of a fugue state of denial over that one too. Then I've had that recent struggle with that money stolen from my account. The recent illness. And I just carry on one day at a time, no matter what, no matter who. So let's continue with the story. Valentine's strategy might have worked. Oh no, we read that. The nurse just walked away. Campbell didn't get a meal or the chance to throw food and wasn't transferred back to Collins Bay until the next day, which was when he was due back anyway. While Valentine offered tips on food tossing, Rick Sauvé was definitely the man to consult about food eating. Excuse me, I'm just going to blow my nose. Got a lot going on, people of that. We're cooking on gas. Last night I freaked out because my ear started bleeding. I was like, man, I'm going to have a fucking stroke as well. But anyway, it was just a little bit and then it stopped. So, if you're on this channel, you're watching a woman, a very powerful woman who's outlived her own death 16 times. Possibly more than 16 times, but those are the ones that I keep particular count of. And remember, there's probably more that happened when I was pre-verbal as well, but we won't even think about that. And anyway, you're dealing with a very courageous, very powerful, very strong, very loving woman, but I'm fragile and I'm vulnerable and I'm ill and I deserved better. Just saying. Anyway. Larry, while Valentine offered tips on food tossing, you see, they really just behave like naughty children. They really do, like animals or naughty children. Rick Sauvé was definitely the man to consult about food eating. From the time of his transfer, Campbell was determined to focus on his mental and physical health. He had read some disturbing things that made him question the healthiness of his diet. When I got to Collins Bay, I didn't want to eat any red meat or dairy products. I just wanted fresh vegetables and fruit. The only way you can change your diet is religion or health, and there was nothing wrong with me. Sauvé impressed Campbell was extremely healthy considering the circumstances. You might expect someone serving life with no chance of parole for 25 years for a murder he didn't commit to be a bitter man. Yeah, I'd be a bit pissed off about that, to be frank. It's not fair to do a crime when you were innocent. To do a time, for a crime you were innocent of. Speak English, Tanya. You're drifting, Tanya. Anyway. Sauvé instead seemed to have risen above anger and self-pity to some higher plane of existence. Probably gave him some good drugs while he was in there, am I right? Zyprexa or Abilify. Tone the poor motherfuckers down. All it does is turn you into a shuffling, drooling automaton. Evacuated out of your own soul. Lucky I'm good at whistling mine back home, aren't I? By the gods. If you're dealing with me, you're dealing with me, body, mind and soul. Be afraid, be very afraid. If I choose to not know something cognitively, my spirit knows. And she sees all, and she knows all. She watches, and she waits. That's why I'm well hated. They know, even when I'm out of my mind, something takes over and watches over me. Even Courtney used to see it, trying to get me constantly obliterated on his couch with hash brownies or other times with cannabis. I'd come back from a fugue state, which was a genuine fugue state, because I'd just turn, I'd look at him and his meathead fucking friend and say, where was I? You're just standing there staring into space, Tanya. Did I move? No, you just stood there. Did I say anything? Nah. What's going on, Courtney? What are you trying to do to me? I said, I was out of my body for ages. Said, I know, we watched you just standing there. We knew you weren't there. Did you think about, leading me to sit down and lie me down? So we didn't dare touch you, Tanya. We didn't fucking dare. They were scared of me, those two, on some level. They were. I just looked at them. That's how I realised. I looked at them and I went, aha, good. Well, I'm back. Stop trying to get me high, Courtney. It doesn't work on me, okay? I'm not like other people. I'm starting to realise that, Tanya, he says. I'm starting to realise that. Anyway, that time we were standing when I actually left my body completely, and question them when I came back, because I knew something had fucking gone weird there with my brain. I like my brain. It's a fine brain. It's kept me alive all these years against all the odds. But anyway, I knew. I've never had that happen before, where I just disappeared completely and I just standing like a body in a production line. Upright, physically standing, but not there. It's an eerie fucking feeling, people of Earth. I mean, I know what disassociation feels like because I've done it since I was 6 years old to survive those predators, but this was a whole new thing. My psych had to explain it to me because it happened when I had the suicide attempt. He said it's called a fugue state. What does that mean? I said. He said, well, there was a case, he said, in the 90s of a man who was in a fugue state. He said, lived in Brisbane here. He said he got in his car, drove to Perth, Western Australia, the other side of this massive continent, which is a bloody long drive, by the way. I think it takes several days to drive across from Brisbane to Perth. He says he rocks up, gets with a new identity, gets a new, I don't know how he did it, because you'd think you'd need to cross-check with all the computers. I don't know how he did it. But anyway, he rocked up with a new name, new identity, new driver's license, rented an apartment, got a job, perfectly functioning. 6 months later goes by, he rocks up to the, or something must have gone down, ended up in hospital somehow. I don't know what happened, but anyway, somehow it comes out. 6 months later, after arriving in Perth, he rocks up and he says to someone, my actual name is this, and I come from Brisbane, and I don't know how I've got here. I don't know why I'm called this. I don't know why I have this driver's license. I don't know who I am. A complete fugue state. Started an entire different life. Brian looks at me and smiles. I said, you're quite capable of doing that too, Tanya, but it'd be a bit harder now because everything's on computer. They can cross-index everything, between the states. I said, really? They can't seem to find a pedophile between different states. They seem to hide under the radar easily enough. I know, Tanya. I know. Anyway, I've had 2 episodes of being in a fugue state. One was that time when I was high in Skatey's house, which was odd. But partly what triggered that, they were watching Saw, and I can't abide watching gory, violent movies about things that actually happen to people in real life. It's a massive fucking trigger. I think that's why they knew not to touch me, because I knew I would have gone ape shit. I would have thought they were trying to harm me for real, I would have gone berserk. I wasn't in my own mind and I would have gone berserk. And he even said, we knew not to touch you. Yeah, but they like to push my buttons, didn't they? Experiment with me like I was some kind of rat. The fucking pigs. I swear to God, if I ever see them, consider themselves shanked. Yes, I'm saying that on my YouTube. My psychiatrist says to me, I can't save you anymore, Tanya. You say too much on your YouTube videos. I know, Brian. But at least you'll know if anything goes down that I talked about it and I was authentic and I meant it at the time. I really do. In that moment, I really do mean it. It's like, what the fuck? What the fuck? I sit struggling in poverty with ill health. Oh, those bastards got one over on me and prospered. And I try not to be bitter, because ultimately The damage was done to me when I was a very little girl, and it's no one's fault but my mother, my father, the paedophile Uncle Case, Uncle Trevor as well. Uncle Trevor was worse. Uncle Case, and my brother-in-law enabling it as well. I don't hold my little niece to blame because she was an innocent little child, and you know, she's the only blameless one, but the rest of those dirty motherfuckers, you know, it was their job to keep me safe as a child, and they not only refused to do it, but they delighted in not keeping me safe. They got off on it. They took great delight in it. They were animals. You're hearing it from my own mouth, my own lips to God's ears. Anyway, my half-sister Angela is the last of that family of origin of pedophiles and enablers to still be alive. Well, her and her husband. And with her death, I can all put it away in a neat little box with a neat little ribbon and sling it over my shoulder and put it away and never think about it ever again. I've got better at it over time, not thinking about them, what they put me through. But today's been a flare-up kind of day, you understand, and I'm not sure what the trigger is. Maybe these gritty, awful stories where it gets mentioned, and finding out what the COVID vaccine's doing to people's brains is just as chilling and awful as any fucking pedophile. Trust me on that one. Losing an entire species who just trusted in their government. It's the only thing they did wrong. Put their trust in the scientists and the governments for the depopulation. And they're utterly without remorse and without shame. It's really disgusting. And I have to somehow continuously live amongst people like you that did that shamelessly. I want to vomit when I think about it. Anyway, Mama T will be okay because she's strong, she's loved, she's protected, not by other humans, ironically, but by the gods. Sauve instead seemed to have risen above anger and self-pity to some higher plane of existence. On a good day you see me rising above it. On a good day. To my angels and the gods. Further, Campbell was struck by how Sauve held no grudge against him, even though Campbell did the killing for which Sauve had been imprisoned. Sauve didn't seem to allow bitterness to pollute his soul. He also didn't want much in the way of material possessions. His soul was stripped down, with no television, radio, books, or exercise equipment, nothing that was considered a prison luxury. He didn't even sleep on a bed, preferring to roll out his mattress on the hard floor at night and then roll it back up again in the morning. Sauve practiced Buddhism and transcendental meditation and studied for his BA in psychology through correspondence, paying for the courses with money he earned behind bars. When that was done, he completed a master's in criminology, again paying for it with his prison earnings. He had broken up with his first wife, not out of anger, but so that she could get on with her life. What you doing, little handsome boy? You still on your sweet Kermy boy? Good boys. Campbell wasn't the only one impressed with Sauvé. A guard once told Campbell, "Sauvé's a guy that can do time in a box." Campbell didn't feel any special urge to join Sauvé in transcendental meditation, but he was impressed by Sauvé's steady supply of fresh fruits and vegetables. "How do you have that diet?" Campbell asked. "I get this because I'm a Buddhist now." Campbell and Sauvé wrote to Toronto Buddhist temples until they found one whose leaders agreed to take Campbell on as a long-distance member of their congregation. Then Campbell and Sauvé started to talk about traditional Buddhist feasts they could order from behind bars. "Rick told me once a year Zen Buddhists are allowed Himalayan yak. So I said, let's go for it. We were gonna, then we thought, no, we've fucked them enough." Himalayan yak. Guess it would just taste a bit like beef, wouldn't it? Sauvé didn't just have what appeared to be the key to inner peace. He also had access to a secret stash of moonshine. The guards had the key to the enclosed plumbing unit, but Sauvé was able to open its panel with a piece of sheet metal like a safecracker. The hooch was tucked away in the pipes, and odds were if you weren't looking, you wouldn't find it. It was a particularly good spot because it minimised the chances of guards smelling the foul concoction or seeing the fruit flies that tend to hover over jailhouse shine. Pardon me. His occasional forays into moonshine aside, Sauvé was serious about yoga and meditation, and once said he was able to transport himself to another state of being. Campbell laughed that any journey Sauvé took was because of prison moonshine, not spiritual awareness. He said, "I can do transcendental they've written here mediation, but they mean meditation. I was outside my cell." I said, "No, you didn't. I saw you puking on the floor." Keeping it real, people of Earth. That's why people hate me too. And I'm okay with that. Just keep it fucking real, or stay the fuck away from me for eternity. I won't miss you if you're not real. You understand? With Sauvé's help, Campbell took up a self-help regimen that placed heavy emphasis on relaxation with yoga and deep breathing exercises. I'm going to die soon. People of Earth. It's nearly the 10th anniversary of my suicide attempt, 22nd of August. And after the repeat pattern of having my birthday so viciously sabotaged 10 years on, I wonder if it's going to be that repeat pattern as well. I wonder. I hope not. Still got lovely things to live for, like my birdie boys, but I hope not. But the way I feel right now, that's how it happened. Last time I'd had a long, protracted illness and it wore me down. That's how it happens. Get on my last nerve and extreme things can happen. Anyway, today I'm getting my hair done with my beautiful hairdresser, who just by being her own beautiful self will brighten me up, and today's going to be a beautiful day in spite of all the triggering this morning, people of Earth. And life is beautiful and the sun's shining. It's a pity I've got to go to the hairdresser because I should have the birdie boys outside on such a lovely day. Maybe I could put them out for an hour. We'll see. Let's finish this story. There was also reading, including the self-help bestseller by Thomas A. Harris, I'm okay, you're okay. Someone who definitely wasn't okay in anyone's books was Pigpen, the biker from Peterborough, who had hid out for a time in the United States with the outlaws under the alias Garbage. Eventually he was returned to serve out a sentence for violence in a Canadian cell. Pigpen carried about 245 pounds on a 6-foot frame, and while his wasn't pretty Muscle Beach muscle, he still possessed crazy, ill-defined bug strength, hard to measure or oppose. One day Campbell was lying in his cell relaxing when he sensed someone close by. He looked up and there was Pigpen blocking his doorway, his arms tightly crossed, staring at him. Scared you? Pigpen said. Campbell denied he had been frightened, but the big crazy man with the tightly crossed arms could see that Campbell was rattled and seemed particularly pleased with himself. Another time, Pigpen announced to Campbell that he had just seen the moon in the afternoon. That's the first time that has ever happened, declared Pigpen. Howard, I've seen that dozens of times, Campbell replied. Pigpen fumed at anyone daring to question his credentials in astronomy. That's the first fucking time that's ever happened. Campbell didn't have a retort, and there was no point in getting Pigpen's dander up. Pigpen was unsettling enough when he was relaxed. You know what that means? Pigpen continued. Campbell had no quick reply. Pigpen leaned close to him. So close, Campbell could feel the warmth of his breath. Campbell still said nothing. Then Pigpen leaned closer still. You know, Pigpen declared. With that, he snapped his head back, gave Campbell a knowing look, turned quickly on his heels, and walked out of the cell with a triumphant strut. One day Campbell and inmate Mike Mule Poisson had a disagreement about exactly what was going on between Pigpen's ears. Mule asserted that Pigpen was just playing crazy, albeit very well. Campbell argued that Pigpen was truly out of his mind. "It's a big put on," Mule said. "What do you mean?" Campbell asked. "He's not really insane." "Yes, he is." At this point, Pigpen appeared and walked up to them. "We were just talking about you," Campbell offered. "I say you're truly insane. Mike here is saying you're just putting it on." He just looked at us, turned around, and walked out, recalls Campbell. "That answers your question for you, Mike," he said. One day, Campbell and another inmate were talking about Pigpen when a guard overheard them. "You have no idea how nuts he is," the guard said. One of the prisoners Pigpen associated with was an outlaw named Andy. Campbell advised Pigpen that it didn't look right for a member of the choice to be talking with an outlaw, even if Andy was a good enough guy and married to one of Bernie Gindon's cousins. "Not now, angels. I'm shaking and I'm woozy and I'm tired. And I'm going to get my hair done and it's a beautiful day, but don't interrupt me now, angels. We've already done our stories. We've laid it all out how it was, and honestly, why do I even bother? No one fucking cares about me. No one. Except maybe my hairdresser, my psychiatrist, and my birdie boys, and Lynn and Jared. So I'm wrong about that. There's people who do care about me, but, oh, well, honestly. Campbell had already told Andy, "When you go by me, don't look at me." It wasn't personal, it was just the way things were. Members of the choice weren't to mingle with the outlaws in Ontario, just as members of the Hatfield and McCoy clans didn't share jugs of moonshine in Tug Fork, West Virginia. He freaked out and then went out to Andy's cell, Campbell says. Andy's sitting there doing his leather hobbycraft. He punched the fuck out of Andy. Andy, had no idea why. "I wasn't telling you to do that to Andy," Campbell told Pigpen. "I believe he's insane," Campbell says. "He'd be a bad enemy." Pigpen had his own notions about hygiene and personal health. He stayed away from showers, preferring to sponge bath his bulk in the privacy of his own cell. That way, other prisoners couldn't sneak up behind him and attack. We know what they mean by that kind of attack, don't we? Pigpen's strategy was tested after he ran afoul of the Collins Bay Caribbean population. There were about 15 Caribbean inmates in Collins Bay who were poorly educated and highly superstitious. We'd be talking voodoo here, wouldn't we? I love voodoo. I do. I love it. I draw the line at, chopping heads off chickens and, swinging them around my head like the ultra-Orthodox Jews do on Yom Kippur. I love my chickens. When I have chickens, I have them for pets and for their eggs. I never kill my own chickens. So I'm not a very good voodoo queen, but I do dabble in it, like there's a few offerings that get made to the voodoo gods when it's, required of me. And I like it. I like that religion. I like it a lot. Maybe in a previous life I was a voodoo priest or priestess, who knows. I'm drawn to certain things and they don't actually make a lot of sense even to me, but there's a reason, and if I derive comfort and peace from it, and if, it enhances in my life in some way without causing harm or distress to anyone else, you understand, then I will, give obeisance and honour to certain gods, while simultaneously remaining a Reformed Jew and a Universalist and a daughter of all the gods. So it's very complicated. It doesn't behoove one to piss me off, because you never know which angel might step in or which particular god might step in. And as I described earlier in that fugue state, after they tried to get me to watch Saw and I wouldn't have a bar of it, they knew something had taken over while I was removed mentally and physically. They kind of had a wisdom about that. They kind of understood that on some level. That's how I survived. That's what they were really looking for. My survival skills and how far they could push it. Dumb motherfuckers. Just dumb. Really dumb. So I'll forgive them, because they were just dumb, you understand. Like that idiot Saunders, thick as two short planks, doesn't know how to behave towards the Tanya. Dumb, dumb and dumber. Don't fuck with me or my magic, ever. For reasons known only to himself, Pigpen, delighted and enthusiastically barging into their cells, spouting Bible passages. Whatever one might say about Pigpen, he did appear to know his scripture. When he was done, his oration as a final crescendo, Pigpen would take his whammy dust, made from crunched up mirrors, and throw it into the air like a magician casting a spell. Serious? Who knows if he's serious? One day after his scripture rant and whammy dust toss, see, everything comes down to show business, doesn't it, darlings? Killing me softly with his song, telling my whole life with his words. Killing me softly with his song. It's okay, he's got that ugly thing, and I got my freedom, which is happiness. Baby girls and baby boys. And you're already dead inside, so I don't need to take any revenge, because I'm just watching. Dead man walking. Dead, empty, evacuated. But it's a fugue state you won't be coming back from, you understand. Not in 6 months, not in 6 years, not ever. He didn't like me dancing to Zombie because offended his sensibilities, because he must realise he's become one. Goddess bless. Mamati sends you love from all vortices of time, space. But once a zombie, my darling. Always a zombie. Ask me how I know. It's contagious. And in your case, self-inflicted. And I did warn you all, don't do it. Don't do it. There'll be no coming back from this one. Fucking ADHD. Fuck off. Fuck off and keep away from my daughter, you evil, demonic riding cesspit, dark angels of pestilence and hate and weakness. You fuck with my daughter. You fuck with the wrong woman, people of Earth. We might not speak ever again as long as we live, but that better be an accurate fucking diagnosis. Because if I find out it's not, a certain shrink, whoever that is going to be deregistered. Poisoning my babies. Poisoning my babies. The Mama T has spoken. I want my planet Earth back how it was before 2020. It wasn't great before 2020, I can assure you. It wasn't great before 2015. None of it was fucking great. But I want those timelines shifted back on the right way, on the right pathway. How it should have always been, till those fucking globalists got in charge of everything. You lackluster cunts. Well, all we can hope is that ET comes down and cleans up planet Earth. It's like asking for the second coming of Christ. Well, he couldn't clean it up when he was alive either, could he? Look how that worked out for him. With your filthy, treacherous, PDF filing, evil, inverted religions. In my world, all religions will be banned. I will allow spirituality. I will allow joy and delight. I will allow peace. I will allow real loves. Any fake motherfuckers can just get put on a deserted island with the Epsteins and left to rot. No food, nothing. Watch them rot. Pardon me. Mama T has belched forth and spoken. One day after his scripture rant and whammy dust toss, one of the Caribbean prisoners was convinced that Pigpen had put a curse upon him. It's called paranoia. Sometimes, just sometimes, we lay down our curses too. And we never, ever, ever take them back. In my biological grandfather's case, it only got destroyed because my grandmother accidentally, unwittingly, burnt the curse and the rape. He snuck up on Pigpen when Pigpen was having a sponge bath in his cell and shanked him. The shank didn't have the desired effect, but now Pigpen was even more dangerous, charging his attacker like a stuck wild boar. Campbell caught sight of Pigpen hotly pursuing his would-be killer with no clothes on and a shank in his hand. What the fuck's he doing now? Guards let the black inmate run into his cell for safety, then moved him down into the hole in protective custody. You see, even in jail, you get protective custody. Where was the protection for the Tanya? Absent. And all I did was live my life in freedom and speak my truth and hold my line. That's all I'll ever do. That's all I'll ever be. Till the day I die, people of Earth. For all his unsettling and repugnant qualities, Pigpen was a biker brother, and so the hostilities with the Caribbean inmates became Campbell's concern as well. At this time, Campbell had a job on the range changing light bulbs. A perk of the job was that it meant he could wear a belt with a row of screwdrivers on it. In the absence of guns and holsters, screwdrivers on a tool belt were the next best thing. Campbell's job allowed him to approach the Caribbean prisoner hiding out in the hull. Those birdies are very quiet. You're very quiet, my handsome boys. I love you. Yes, beautiful boys. Howard has no hard feelings. Howard being Pigpen or garbage, according to which club he's hanging with at the time. Campbell's hands were on his tool belt, close to the screwdrivers, like a cowboy ready to draw a gun. "Do you have a problem?" Campbell asked. There was no reply. The prisoners still balked at coming out. The next day in the yard, Campbell and Larry Valentine were just wearing t-shirts and shorts, as the weather was too hot for anything heavier. Campbell noticed the curious clothing of more than a dozen Caribbean inmates in an area called Mosquito Alley, where there were a couple of benches. They wore winter coats and heavy boots as if they were about to head out in a blizzard. They also had newspapers on their laps. They're all carrying shanks, Campbell concluded as he and Valentine walked over to the Caribbean's benches. "Who's in charge here?" Campbell asked. No one answered. "Is this stab a biker day?" Campbell continued. "So come to my cell, 3A-10, and stab me." By now Campbell and Valentine were backed by Flex, Nutty, Como, Rick Sauvé, Jeff McLeod and Paul Rogers, a karate black belt, who joined the Choice in 1984, just before he was sentenced for armed robbery. They carried baseball bats from the recreation shack. The guards just stepped back and let events unfold. They knew what was happening, but they didn't do anything. It was quite obvious. It was the day after Pigpen got stabbed. None of the newspaper-toting men in winter wear appeared eager to take up the invitation. One of them denied that the prisoner who'd shanked Pigpen during the sponge bath was part of their group. "Lord, that guy's not with us." Campbell wasn't satisfied. He let the others know that they'd better keep that prisoner away from the bikers. The Caribbean inmates would still be... Is it Caribbean or Caribbean? See, I slip in and out of accents, don't I? I've always been like that. I'm a chameleon, it's how I survived. If I'm with Americans, after about 10, 15, 20 minutes, I start talking with an American accent. Can you believe it? They, of course, then think I'm taking the piss, but it just happens instinctively. I don't know why that is. It's odd. It's odd even by my standards. The line from a song comes to mind. Slip inside the eye of a dream. Something like that. It's Oasis. Oh, I'm losing my shit, people, of it. Channeling Oasis. Anyway, the Caribbean inmates would still be responsible for his conduct. 4 months from now, or 6 months from now, he's going to be with you. The Caribbean prisoners stayed silent. Their eyes said that they didn't want things to go further. A baseball bat can do a lot of damage quickly. And the choice controlled the recreation area, including the rack of baseball bats. It just ended right there. Amen to that, brothers and sisters. Just ended. All right then. All right there. You gotta know when to hold 'em, know when to fold 'em, know when to walk away, know when to run. You never count your money while you're sitting at the table. There'll be time enough for counting when the dealing's done. Bye for now, people of Earth. Have a beautiful day, regardless of the Tanya, the Mama T, and her wild ramblings and segues and mystery tours of fugue states and other meanderings. It's a living, people of Earth, a living in an open-air prison. Too many people being struck down with ADHD in recent 5-year period. I don't know about you, but I find that highly suspicious and deeply chilling. Just saying.